iZotope just released Ozone 12, and it's loaded with features, meters, and modules. But do you really need or even want that much complexity? As a full production suite, there are so many menus and features that most people are never going to need to use. Ozone is a fantastic plugin to be sure. I just think that for the everyday producer, it might seem a bit overwhelming and unnecessary to go through the process on the daily, where some people may be more comfortable with something that streamlines the process, and although may not have as many options, allows you to dial in settings for your preferred style. If you fall into that category, you may be more interested in something like Landr Mastering plugin. Also an AI-assisted mastering plugin, you can get 90% of the way there for your desired sound just from the AI alone, then fine-tune it for your perfect master. Not to mention some fun optional bonuses too. 2 AI mastering plugins. Which one is right for you? Let's find out. Alright, so here's the track that we're working with today. Alright, and a slight wardrobe change. It's another day. It's incredibly hot in California right now, and I had to record on separate days. Let's just move on. Alright, and let's start off with Ozone 12. Alright, and to get started with Ozone 12, all we have to do is hit the button right here, but we can choose one click where it starts right away, or we can customize. I prefer doing this option. And we are on trap right there, and we can make some changes over here by the loudness as far as LUFS go, not the actual dB. We'll stick at the preferred -9, and -1 dB seems good for me. Alright, now let's go ahead and start Assistant. A little loud. Alright, so one thing that I will always recommend doing is by going over to this button right here is going to be the gain match. So if I had a headroom of -8 dB before the master, it'll do its best job here trying to get close to that even though the effects are already applied. So let's go through and bypass and unbypass some parts here. Not really a big difference. Alright, things do sound more cohesive and glued together there, but to be honest, I'm not really hearing any too drastic changes tonally or sonically. And there is a simplified AI menu over here. Let's go over to the modules, where as you can see, we've got a lot of different modules at work here for this one master where we didn't really hear too much of a difference. Where we can see in the master rebalance, even though we don't have any vocals, it is bringing up the melodies in the back, so I actually do like that. Now for the EQ, it's dipping down some of my bass. I don't want that. Now, impact, I don't even know what that does, I'm being perfectly honest with you. I'm not a mixing engineer, and I don't really know what this particular module does. This is what I mean, though, by the average producer could get overwhelmed, and maybe that's on me. You know, a lot of people out there know a lot more about mastering and mixing than I do. I do know a little bit, like, obviously, Imager's gonna help out with the stereo image of our sound. How do we change it, though? I did something bad, and I don't think I can get it back to the way that it was. Alright, moving on. Clarity. That sounds pretty good. Not too much, though. Stabilizer, I also don't really know what that is. Oh no, that's too much. Yeah, even though I don't know what that does, you gotta be very careful with this knob here. The smoothening that it has is way too much. At this end. Sounds very neutral, where over here you still have those peaks and valleys and the whole, like, dynamic range. That sounds really good right there. Dynamic EQ, I don't want it to be doing that. I like the high end. Maximizer is where I really do enjoy using Ozone products. And let's try increasing the gain, too. That's good. Alright, so that's all the modules that are currently in use, but if we hit the plus button right here, we can see a bit more. Bass control, low-end focus, spectral shaper, stem EQ, but I'm going to leave it the way that it is because I don't really know how much more that I could do that won't mess up what we already have. So one last time over here, let's go ahead and A/B the comparisons by gain matching and bypassing. Big differences after we tweaked it with the modules. Alright, but at the end of the day, a very good master here. Yes, I had to go through some of the complex modules there, which I wasn't exactly comfortable with, but of course taking more time and getting acclimated with all the different modules here and having my own process for it will help out a lot. And we also could have just used the simplified AI menu over here too, but I wanted you guys to see just how complex going through the modules can be. Alright, that's going to be Ozone 12, where you can get a perpetual license for $500. That's another point to mention. It's not cheap. So let's go ahead and move on to the Landr Mastering plugin, where it's immediately waiting for our playback. Alright, we are ready over here to start going through the Landr Mastering plugin, where we also have the gain match, and now we can go through the bypass feature over here. Again, also similar fashion to Ozone 12. I think the track sounds more cohesive and full, but we definitely got to tweak some settings here. For example, we can pick between a more warm or open sounding master, but I prefer to start out balanced and then tweak from there, which we don't have any modules. In fact, we only really have one page over here, and what we can do is just increase the loudness and we'll make a big difference just from that. play with the equalizer too. Need some more high end here. Already a lot better. Presence 2, also similar to the Ozone plugin, this one controls the amount of presence in the critical vocal range of your master. Now here, we're not talking about actual vocals like spoken vocals, but it will bring up the different elements of our instrumental. Compression. Decrease the character though. Add some more saturation, make it more wide. Now bypass. Big difference. Big difference again. And that was it. Now, one thing that's really important to mention here that's a really big what separates these two different plugins here is the simplicity of these settings that we can change. Here, equalizer, very easy. We can raise up the low end, mid, and high, all at different increments, like 2.5 and 1.9. Yeah, not too far off, but the high, I want a lot more clarity, so I increased it by 7.3, adding some more presence to my track, which is similar to the clarity from the Ozone 12 plugin, and then add a little bit more loudness too. Okay, and you can also get a perpetual license here for the Landr Mastering plugin, or a different route that you can take is it's also included in the Landr Studio Pro subscription. This is an all-encompassing service that includes the Landr Mastering plugin, but you also get millions of samples, a variety of plugins, music production courses, distribution, and much more. All at just under $200 a year. Not to mention that can also get you guys 20% off with the link in my description if you want to go that route. Alright, now one final test over here. I'm going to export this track twice, once with the Ozone 12 mastering on there, then the other with the Landr Mastering plugin. Then we're going to break it down piece by piece, section by section, so you guys can hear a clear difference. So we're going to have 3 different sections, 4 bars each, 12 total. First part's going to be just the instrumental, then the next part's going to be the verse, I guess you would call it, then the hook right there, all at different tonal ranges, and you can see different fullnesses and see how all that goes. And I'm going to go ahead and stop talking here and just let you guys listen. So there's been something going on with the last few versions of Ozone. I used to have an older version like Ozone 5 or 9 or something like that I absolutely loved. It was reliable and easy to use. So then when I upgraded to Ozone 11, I was very underwhelmed with their AI feature. It was constantly getting the wrong genre and made every track into a squished mess. In fact, I actually have a video comparing Ozone 11 to Landr Mastering plugin right over there if you want to see those results. But it looks like they've done a great job correcting those issues here in Ozone 12. The one thing that I will say is that the AI seems to be dialed back a little bit too much, requiring more manual work with those modules. This is where something like Landr Mastering truly shines. However Landr goes about their mastering, it never seems to be squished, and you can make powerful changes in a very easy way. No, there's no 3 EQ modules, 3 different kinds of compression, or even a stabilizer module, but I really don't feel like I need all of those things in an everyday master. So with all of that being said, who are these plugins right for? On one hand, with Ozone 12, they really seem to have fixed all the issues that were in previous versions, making it easier to change settings. But with the AI seemingly not doing the most, you may have to spend more time in the most complex part of the process, the modules. It's something that offers complete control, but will take some time to get fully acquainted with, not including all of the modules that you may never use or feel like you need for everyday masters. So if you have the time and professionally master, you may need this complete control. But on the other hand, with Landr Mastering, you get something that's also very powerful and streamlined for everyday use. Even if there might not be as many ways to tweak every aspect of the master with surgical precision, this is a great option for those looking to get a professional sounding master in minutes with little to no learning curve. And once again, if you go the Landr Studio Pro route, you get the mastering plugin and all of those benefits for a discounted price with the link in my description. So which plugin is right for you all depends on your needs and your budget. There really is no wrong choice here.